The second sketch that we're going to do in the 28 Days Challenge is a Sitar player. I took this photograph in a recent concert that I went, and this is the sketch. Like all my previous sketches, I start, well, usually, not always, with the outline with my Palomino Blackwing pencil, and they are just basically capturing the essence or broad shape of the sitar player. As I sketch, you can see that I again focus on the broad shape, the sitar, the person, and I don't really even bother with a tiny detail like the string or the hair, or well, of course, if you look at the hair, it's just one shape, not the individual strand of hair. That's what I mean. You don't focus on those, but of course, when you get the whole shape in there, you're pretty much done with your outline, basically. Okay, let's start painting the background. The first one, washed, is to mix cobalt with quinacridone roast. That gives you a nice purple. Drop in a little bit of lemon yellow to make it gray. And as I paint the background, I'm very conscious that I'll also paint into the shadows part of the figure. In other words, there are some parts of the figure on the right side that I will use it as one shape and basically just go right through it. I'm thinking in light and shade, well, basically two parts of the sketch, and I'm just gonna not gonna care about the lines of the figure or the sitar itself, but where it's shaded, I'm just gonna put the first layer. So that's what I did. As you can see, that's how that first layer came out to be. Right, the second shape that I'm putting in is actually the shape of the sitar itself. I'm going in with quinacridone burnt orange with a bit of permanent alizarin thrown in. I use a tissue to dab away the highlights, and then use the same color to put in where the string portion of the sitar is. Very careful to leave some of the highlight as well. Again, using the tissue to lift up some of the ink, the pigments, where I think the highlight needs to be. I'm going in also with a bit of dark that consists of a bit of a dark purple with the permanent alizarin crimson. I use the same color for the stage as well, careful to differentiate between the light and the dark part of the stage. The next few bits are really the parts of the stage. I put in a bit of the reds, just a dab of it, and then I quickly dilute some of the edges. A bit more dark in terms of the shadow side of the figure, the legs folded, so you only see the knee. And then of course he's wearing the mask, and I'm not going to paint everything in the mask. I'm just going to use a very simple line to do that. His shirt is actually a bit of a purplish color, but I thought red here might make more sense, so I use a heavier reddish purple, if you like. Again, the hair, I'm using dark purple as well. I'm also very careful just to leave enough highlights, as you can see where the hair has highlight as well. The lesson here is really this: you really don't need to draw every single hair, every single eyebrow, and every single tiny detail, the fingers even. Look at the whole thing as basically a broad shape, and when you are painting, you are very careful in looking at the arms, for example. Treat it like a cylinder. The cylinder would have highlights, shadow, and so on and so forth. So your job is to look at it, from a simplification perspective, each part being represented by shadow, highlight, and some kind of a mid-tone. And with that, you would see three-dimension structure to the sketch, and with that, your sketch will pop. I continue to put in darks, continue to put in mid-tones, and continue to put in, or sketch around the highlights to make sure that I don't wash everything over in one big giant shape, if you like, but very careful in, as I said, leaving shadows, putting in shadow, leaving the highlights, and putting in the midtones. And one of the thing about mistakes with beginners is that they tend to use a single brush and they will cover the entire thing. If you think the sitar is red, you would just use one red and you'll cover the whole thing. So actually that's not really the best way to do it. Well, I'm ready to put in my name. I ready my seal, one of the smallest that I have, and I'm just gonna put it in. One thing about seal is that it needs to correspond to your sketch. The size of the seal matters. You can't use a very big seal because this is a very small postcard, so just a tiny one will do. I do have about 10 of these, so different sizes and different design. Putting in my name as well, and as you can see, it's not getting into the entire sort of details of the every single bits of the sketch, but it's kind of like just give a sense of the sitar player. You can see the sitar, you can see the figure. I think in some way a postcard sketch that should be more than sufficient. And after I put down the date, I felt that I needed to just soften some of the edges of some of the sketch, the shapes, and that's exactly what I did. I go in with a stiff brush and I erase, if you like, the parts of the arms where the colors that I put down has too much hard edges around. So that's it. This is Whee Teck. Please stay safe wherever you are. Out. Oh, one last note. This is the second of the 28 days challenge with the weekend sketcher.